Alright, I want to get one thing straight here. I know you guys enjoy the Tobey Maguire intros I do here on the channel, and I got comments saying, where's the Bully Maguire intro? I'm talking about the Scream franchise. Ghostface and Tobey Maguire have nothing to do with each other, so there's no reason for me to put a Bully Maguire intro in here. Come on now. So how about I just read you guys some fun trivia about Scream 2, okay? Here's a good one. Tobey Maguire was supposed to play Mickey.
The killer, he's here.
Where? Right here. What the fuck?
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
You are dead!
I'd love to shoot you sometime.
Dead!
Stings, doesn't it? Gonna cry?
After the release of that first Scream movie and it being a smashing success, the studio was quick to want to make a sequel, and when I say quick, I mean hella quick. 6 months after the release of the first Scream, they already started production on Scream 2, making it release 1 year later. You would think with them rushing a sequel that quick and trying to push it out to theaters, it would suffer in quality, but thankfully Kevin Williamson, the writer of the first Scream movie, already had some ideas in mind for the sequel, making it a lot easier for him to make. And with the movie being in production, they had a couple ideas for the title of the sequel: Scream Again, Scream Louder, my personal favorite, Scream the Sequel, deciding just to call it Scream 2, in where we'd follow Sidney Prescott leaving Woodsboro in college as another person decides to take up the mantle of Ghostface and chase her one more time. It's a Scream movie that proved there's a lot of fuel in this franchise, and boy were they gonna use this formula a lot. How do I feel about the sequel to Scream? Well, let's just go ahead and hit play with Scream 2 of 1997. Starting off right away with the tradition of an opening kill taking place at a movie theater where they're about to watch a film called Stab.
Did I mention that these tickets are free? Free.
Sandra Bullock is playing right down the street.
Nobody want to pay $7.50 to see some Sandra Bullock shit? That she naked.
Oh, but you will sit through a movie called Stab.
The introduction of the Stab movies is one of my favorite things in the Scream franchise. Essentially, the events of the first Scream film were so horrifying and shocking that just like in our real world, it was turned into a movie based off the book that was written by Gale Weathers, who went ahead and witnessed most of the events. And really, this had so many meta-inception layers to the Scream franchise because the first film was based on real-life events of the Gainesville Ripper that was then turned into the movie Scream, and then the events of Scream got its own movie Stab. But at the same time, all these layers grant the movie the opportunity to kind of be even more self-aware and even poke fun at some of the things the Scream franchise will do that fans will commentate on. Like, one of the big things that the first Scream movie got flack on is their lack of representation, and that's one thing they touch upon here.
Well, no, all I'm saying is that the horror genre is historical for excluding the African-American element.
Nevertheless, as we're continuing on with this opening sequence, I love the atmosphere that is being set up here and the thrills that a lot of people have for watching a horror movie. The Stab franchise becomes this ultimate phenomenon where you can just feel the energy in the room. And I'm telling you, if my screening for the new Scream movie does not look like this, I am going to a new screening. But I think the thing that makes this opening sequence very chilling to me is the fact that you're in a theater, a place that's supposed to be comforting, filled with movie lovers just wanting to have some fun. It's a place you should feel safe at. But as we see here with the boyfriend wanting to leave to use the restroom, it's not as safe as we thought, because what's going on here, man? I'm wearing the robe currently. If I'm at a urinal, there's only one way I can use this urinal. I'm sorry, but this is what they look like from the waist down.
Say hello to my killer bun, Sydney.
This thing ain't got no zipper, but I do gotta admit, the way the boyfriend dies here in this opening kill was rather convenient and odd. Was the killer literally just sitting there the whole time hoping he'd show up? And can we talk about the x-ray vision this guy has to just be able to exactly hit him? And final pet peeve, just leaving his body there bloody. This is a packed theater right now. Someone else is bound to walk into that bathroom. But I guess we can assume he did move the body and hide it, because we do see him wearing the jacket of the boyfriend. A nice little touch for this Ghostface, as we rarely get to see him put on something over his cloak, taking the opportunity to go ahead and kill off Jada Pinkett Smith's character while the entire theater believes it's one big act and part of the experience that the theater had set up. But with that opening out of the way, the movie decides to catch us up on what some of the returning cast members have been doing since we last saw them a year ago. We move out of Woodsboro into college where Sidney Prescott is studying to be an actress, something that kind of surprised me at the time since we didn't really get a hint that Sidney wanted to be in the business in the last movie, but I guess it was just a smart way to go with it to have her be in the same school as Randy, who of course is a film buff, in an environment that is a lot more familiar and friendly to Randy, where he has one of his film theorist classes where they do nothing but talk about movies, something I wish I could do all the time in school.
Are you suggesting that someone's trying to make a real-life sequel?
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck. Please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
It's bullshit generalization. Many sequels have surpassed their original.
Oh, yeah?
Name one.
And with the recent attack on the students at the opening of this movie, we have Dewey coming in as he looks to Sydney as a younger sister, and knowing what happened to his sister in the last movie, he feels almost responsible to take care of her, walking with a limp since he was stabbed in the last film. As well as Gale Weathers being here because, well, if bodies are dropping, it's an opportunity for her to write a book and make some money. It's actually Dewey and Gale's relationship in Scream 2 that has me invested into this movie because, like I was mentioning, in the first film, Gale was a pretty unlikable character.
It's a character in a book.
Page 41. Deputy Dewey oozed with inexperience.
She was somebody that was obviously only in it for the money, using people's lives to be able to write books and then get movie deals. So where in this film, she actually starts getting close to not only Dewey, but Randy, and even starts feeling like a victim herself with other reporters around her.
What about this ex-cop Dewey Riley? It's kind of strange that he showed up.
Yeah, what's he doing here? Dewey's a good guy. Unlike some of us.
This film is a real turnaround for the Gale Weathers character, where she basically grows up a little bit and realizes what she does for a living can actually hurt people. But as far as some of the new cast members go, since this movie is a sequel and it's making fun of horror sequels, it kind of gives us a cast that fills in the spots for the people that we lost in the previous movie. We have a handsome boyfriend who seems to be caring and loving to Sydney, a person who is like Randy, very knowledgeable in movies, even if it's a little obnoxious at times, a cameraman, and a best friend of Sydney's who also happens to be her roommate. It's a great ensemble cast that really makes you wonder who could be Ghostface. But probably my favorite underrated addition as a cast member to the movie was the character of Cotton Weary.
Here we are at Windsor College, where Sidney Prescott has just been reunited with Cotton Weary for the first time since she wrongly accused him of murdering her mother.
What the hell are you doing?
Is a real curveball of a situation where the man at times comes off very intimidating, and the movie again plays on the fact where the viewer should be paying attention to the shoes of a person, because we know what Ghostface's outfit looks like.
I mean, come on, Cindy, you dragged my name through the mud. Everybody thinks I'm some kind of psycho killer, and all I'm asking for is one little fucking Diane Sawyer interview.
But now that we've met the cast, it's time to get into some slicing and dicing, and that's what happens here with a second member of Scooby-Doo joining the Scream franchise. Oh, I can't wait to see Fred, Velma, and Scooby-Doo in here. This time around, I do like how the movie goes ahead and lets you actually see Ghostface lurking in the background, moving in and out. It just adds a subtle, creepy factor to already let you know how much in danger this character is.
Okay, so I'll see you later, and don't forget to set the alarm. Hello, Ted.
You wish it was Ted. Don't forget to set the alarm.
Where once he decides to pop out, it just becomes one elaborate chase through this house. But of course, now with the body dropping around town, police start to show up, making everyone leave the party Sydney was attending, leaving her alone in the house, about to walk out with her boyfriend until she gets a call on the phone.
Hello?
Hello, Sydney. Remember me? I want you.
Then why don't you show your face, you fucking coward?
My pleasure.
In this sequence, where it's the reintroduction of Ghostface versus Sidney, did some clever things where one, after Ghostface has gone ahead and left, this slow pan-in shot of Sidney Prescott with the music in the background, with her having the realization that it's happening again, even though she literally was the one to put a stop to the previous Ghostfaces. I think it's such a well-captivated moment, and one that we will see many times throughout this franchise, but also the clever thing the movie does in letting the boyfriend survive his encounter with Ghostface, only being sliced on the arm, something that he does get questioned on, because we know whoever dons the Ghostface mask is willing to go through extreme lengths, and slicing oneself is one of them. Pair that up with the way Sidney starts acting now that these attacks are real and she knows Ghostface is back. Anyone who didn't survive the events of the last movie and her brand new people in her life, she just immediately wants to get away from, not only for their safety, but because she just doesn't know if she can trust them. But what's the ultimate way to a woman's heart? Dancing in a cafeteria.
And so I just decided to myself, I think I love you.
Don't do this.
I think I love you. I've never felt this way. Hey, I think I love you.
Gotta admit, it's a rather odd thing that was introduced into this movie, but in the end, it just shows you the charming, loving boyfriend that Derek was, that man, he was perfect for Sidney. Bringing us to Randy, once again doing what he does best in this franchise, explaining the rules of a sequel.
Number 1, the body count is always bigger. Number 2, the death scenes are always much more elaborate. And number 3, if you want your sequel to become a franchise, never, ever...
How do we find the killer, Randy? That's what I want to know.
And if you were anything like me as a kid, you were upset that they did not go ahead and reveal what that final rule was. Man, I need to survive somehow. But from what I understand, it was cut off on purpose because there's really nothing you could ever do to guarantee your horror franchise will become a franchise. And I guess on the topic of Randy, let's go ahead and move into his final sequence in the Scream franchise. As our heroes are sitting down on campus trying to figure out who could Ghostface be, they get an unsuspecting call.
Gail's not here.
I'm not interrupting anything, am I? You three look deep in thought.
I cannot tell you as a kid how glued I was to the screen with every word Ghostface was talking to Randy, and how I thought every character right now was perfectly safe because they're in public. There's eyes everywhere. It's broad daylight. How could Ghostface come out? And man, oh man, whenever it does happen to Randy, my heart was broken. Of course he was one of my favorite characters in the franchise. The guy was basically the voice for the audience on screen. Pair that up with his knowledge and love of horror movies, it was someone I wanted to survive because, hey, he made the rules for the series. But I gotta admit, as much as I hate as a fan that they went ahead and axed off Randy in this movie and gave him such a gruesome goodbye, it really shows you the strengths of having returning characters in your franchise, where if you let some people survive and they come back in the next movie, you already have a grown admiration for them that if they get taken away, it also just hits that much harder than a brand new character we literally just met that we know is only there for a body count. Randy being taken down was something that was going to hit the fans hard. But now with Randy gone and things looking to get very serious with Ghostface still out there, Gale and Dewey decide to team up together to look through all the footage that they have recorded in town, hoping that maybe they can find Ghostface lurking in the background, where we really start to get more of the relationship they have together and trying to pick things back up where they left off. However, their lovemaking can't continue just yet because Ghostface decides to crash the party, revealing he's actually been recording every victim of his and making his own little movie. The chase ensues and Scream 2 shows us how they can get creative with their environment, with Gale stepping into this soundproof room, us the audience getting to witness Ghostface lurking in the background, even him trying to get at Gale Weathers but just can't. And if like hurting fans with the death of Randy wasn't enough, they tried teasing us here with the death of Dewey Riley. I love how they give him this sort of last cowboy music as he enters the room, because Dewey is kind of like the cowboy of the franchise, a noble man. And yes, watching it for the first time, I thought this was the end of Dewey, and I was like, all right, I think I hate this movie. You can get rid of one character I love, but also Dewey? This movie had no heart, man. Gale then fleeing the scene, bumping into Cotton Weary, who is caught red-handed, running outside to a payphone to inform police, bumping into reporter Debbie Salt. As that's happening, here, with everything going on, the police feel it's best for Sydney and her friend to be taken to a safe house, where before they can arrive, of course, Ghostface shows up to crash the party. And one, it's pretty hilarious that we get to see Ghostface basically play Grand Theft Auto in front of our eyes.
Fucker.
But the build up to this scene with them crashing and Ghostface being knocked out in the front seat and Sydney and her roommate having to go ahead and walk over him is some of the most nerve-wracking, sweat-pounding scenes of the Scream franchise. Like, as a kid, I had moved my eyeballs basically 3 inches away from the television because I was just that invested to everything going on screen. I really did not want Ghostface to be waking up in this moment. And even though our heroes do manage to get out safely, like you and me, we would want to know who is behind that mask, and since Ghostface is unconscious, it's time for Sydney to head over and unmask that boy.
Oh shit, he's gone. What?
All of this finally bringing us into the finale of Scream 2 that I definitely have a lot of thoughts about. Sydney, after the car accident, finds herself running to the university, specifically the theater room, who encounters her boyfriend Derek, who was just being hazed by his fraternity because he went ahead and gave up his necklace to his girlfriend, which was a big no-no. But in the middle of her trying to untie him, we get the reveal of who the first Ghostface was, and it is... And I'll say, I like the reveal of Mickey being Ghostface and his motives on why he's doing it. Some fans nowadays go ahead and say that Timothy Olyphant, the actor playing Mickey, is just basically doing another version of Stu, since fans at the time got a really big kick out of what Matthew Lillard did with the character and being a little exaggerated and goofy.
Thanks a lot, partner.
City's crazy. You know me better than that.
Come on, Sid. I gotta have a partner. It's okay, Darren. We got her. Boyfriend killer, boyfriend killer. This was just the kind of boy you'd like to take home to mom. If you had a mom.
Fuck you!
Oh, so vulgar. Got my whole defense planned out. I'm gonna blame the movies. Pretty girl, huh? It hasn't been done before. You see, this it's just the beginning. I'm an innocent victim.
You're psychotic.
Yeah, well, shh. That'll be our little secret.
But it works to a different level to me, where I don't think he's trying to mimic the personality of Stu. I actually believe and like how psychotic he's being in these moments. It even goes to show you how manipulative he can be when he basically tricks Sydney into thinking her boyfriend Derek was in on it too and was his partner. That was definitely something on first viewing where I didn't even know if he was lying or telling the truth. But it for sure did make me sad to see Derek go, knowing he was innocent and how perfect of a boyfriend he was for Sydney. But getting on to the reveal of the second Ghostface.
I like it.
Now who's doing that? Could that be?
The mystery guest waiting in the wing? Told you I had a partner, Sid.
Gail. Mrs. Loomis?
Billy's mother.
Alright, look, I want to make one thing clear. I love Scream 2. I think it's a great sequel. I like it a lot, but I gotta admit, at the time, I did not like the reveal that it was Mrs. Loomis. Over the years, I've grown to like it and accept it as one of the reveals, especially since people say this is kind of an homage to Friday the 13th and how Mrs. Voorhees was one of the original slashers, and this is what they're kind of doing with Mrs. Loomis, who does have a good motive of wanting to get revenge for what Sydney did to her son and her mother did to her husband. But I do think it's kind of a bad reveal in the sense of a whodunit movie where you're trying to be given clues all throughout the film to only be discovered what was really happening all along. The only clue that we got that something was maybe up with Debbie Salt was one line that Gil Weathers says to her.
I'm Debbie Salt. I took your seminar in Chicago last year. I was the one in the front row asking all the questions.
I thought you looked familiar.
But the excuse now of why she's unrecognizable is because she lost a lot of weight and I guess has had some plastic surgery. If you need to go through those lengths to explain them away as Ghostface, then maybe one of the reasons is because the original script for Scream 2 did leak on on the internet. This is one of the first movies that suffered from leaking online, and ever since then, every Scream movie has had to have fake scripts that purposely leak, like they did with the recent Scream movies, so that they can keep some secrets under wraps. But again, it doesn't ruin this movie for me, and it doesn't stop me from liking this final act, because the ending for Scream 2 is a really great ending for the movie. Just the dynamic that she has with Mickey and the explanation that she found him on a website for psychos who want to go ahead and do this kind of thing is pretty funny. So yes, this ending is great, and it does feel personal because you know this mom obviously wants revenge. It even becomes a lot more intensified when Cotton Weary steps in, and he has all the reason to also be against Sydney.
If you really want to be in the spotlight, just let me kill her. She sent you to prison for a year!
And it just goes to show you how brilliant this finale is that it makes me kind of forget my nitpick of not completely loving the reveal of Mrs. Loomis. So yes, Scream 2 is basically a perfect sequel for the franchise. They got to poke fun at the first movie, repeat some of the things that made the other one famous, but there was enough refreshing and unique things that it did that makes it stand on its own. That makes me love this movie the more and more I watch it. The franchise would continue on to make another sequel here, Scream 3, that many consider to be the embarrassment child of the franchise, and well, I can't wait to talk about it. Hope you guys stay tuned for that review. Let me know your thoughts on Scream 2, but as always, my name is Chris, and I'll see ya on the next review.